Corlanx was perplexed by the galaxy's fascination with humans, who were neither the mightiest, swiftest, most ferocious, nor most intelligent warriors. Nevertheless, he eagerly accepted a mercenary position with a human company, determined to demonstrate the superiority of Surimians. He meticulously prepared his armor and strode onto the human vessel with utmost confidence and grace. Welcome aboard, Corlanx, our new explosives expert. I'm Captain James Kobayashi, pleased to have you join us. As you ought to be. Ha! I admire your self-assurance. But can you live up to it? We undertake more challenging missions than most organizations our size. Nonsense! I've been a mercenary since before your birth and will remain in my prime long after your retirement. It takes more than a handful of arduous tasks to intimidate me. Excellent! Excellent! We've struggled to find a replacement for Mickey, our previous demolitions specialist. This is the 5th time we've had to return to port prematurely because the new recruit couldn't match our tempo. I was considering a trip back to Saul if we didn't find someone to commit soon. Ha! That won't be necessary as long as you continue to compensate me. That's precisely what I wanted to hear. Now get your belongings in order, acquaint yourself with the crew, and get some rest. We'll be landing for a mission in 11 hours. Aye, Captain. The inaugural mission was executed flawlessly. Corlanx not only held his ground, but excelled. The humans appeared impressed by his performance, albeit still dubious. Given time, he would demonstrate the vast disparity between himself and them. After 10 hours and 3 missions, Corlanx entered his cabin and let out a sigh of relief as he sank onto his bed. By the gods, this captain pushed his crew to their limits. While Corlanx respected that, he seemed to take it a bit too far, but nothing he couldn't manage. 1 week and 37 missions later, Corlanx staggered into his cabin and collapsed onto his bed, utterly exhausted. The humans were absolute demons. For the first 2 days, he had outperformed them. By the 4th day, he was slightly slowing them down. On the 6th day, he struggled to fulfill his duties while the humans appeared barely fatigued. Now, on the 8th day, he had hardly completed 2 missions before the humans disappointedly announced they would finish the day's tasks without him and return to port the following day. Corlanx had objected, insisting that if he could rest during the journey to port, he could handle another round. The humans exchanged skeptical glances, sighed, and the captain instructed him to come to his office. Still determined not to give up, Corlanx stumbled his way there and heavily sat down on the offered chair. With a somewhat reluctant and sympathetic expression, the captain handed him a datapad containing an excerpt from the ship's manifest from 2 months prior when they had an all-human crew. Corlanx looked at the captain skeptically, but the captain, still wearing that pitiful look, encouraged him to read through it. Corlanx nearly broke down on the spot. 9. When a human had held his position, they averaged 9 missions per day. He had been convinced they were operating at double capacity as a form of hazing, but no, they had been running at half speed so he could keep up. I apologize, Corlanx, the human captain said. I wish we could retain your services, but we simply can't afford it. My crew, they all require the income. It's why we're in this line of work. At half pace we might manage, but any less than that, it's just not sustainable in the long run. I wish we could hire 3 of your kind, but the truth is the ship can't accommodate any more crew members, and I can't afford a larger one, especially since this one is already pushing the limits of the Special Scout class. I'd have to obtain certification for a light cruiser to upgrade, and well, that would cost nearly as much as a new ship. And with all the retrofitting we had to do on this vessel to suit our needs, well, aside from the engine, I'd be lucky to get more than scrap price, though she's worth her weight 100 times over. It's just not feasible. Unable to formulate a coherent response, Corlanx muttered a "Thank you for your time, Captain," and stumbled out of the office, making his way to his bunk. 2 days later, an exhausted Corlanx disembarked from the ship. After another 3 days of rest, he staggered into one of the station's numerous bars, eventually joining a discussion about humans in a loud and intoxicated manner. No, you guys don't understand. Humans aren't stronger than a Cerewian, smarter than a Grey, or a better shot than a Sprack. I recently served with some of them, and I can confidently say that I am stronger, faster, and a better shot than most of them. However, in 1 month, they accomplish more missions than most organizations do in a year. And even Undarian death squads would struggle to match their pace, even for a single week. Humans are the most terrifying bunch I've ever encountered. Not because they work quickly or intelligently, but because they work hard. Even a Grey could outperform them for an hour or two. But beyond that, I barely survived a week at half their usual pace. And I'm a Ceramian elite. At their normal pace, I wouldn't have lasted 2 days. And they maintain that pace all year, except for a few religious holidays. The most frightening part? That's not even exceptional. It's harder than most humans work, sure. But did you know that back on Earth, a normal job schedule is 8 hours a day? And that in the past, there were poor people who worked twice that just to afford a living. They're poor, they're low caste, are capable of working every single waking hour of their lives. None of our legends can do that. That is why humans are terrifying. They just don't stop.